Kelly, how meaningful is this title defense against Sergio Martinez?
I think it's really meaningful. You know, he's a great fighter. You know, I think he beat Paul Williams in the last fight, so he's a dangerous fighter. I think people that know the boxing and know the fighters in the boxing world know that he's a dangerous fighter, and it's a dangerous fight for me to take.
Now, in terms of challengers out there, seeing as how Williams was considered to be the top dog, and him and Williams faced off in the general public, a lot of people out there think he won. This has got to be the top guy out there, period. Right
now he is. Right now he's definitely the top fighter. You know, there's nobody else really at middleweight. Williams, you know, everybody knows that he's not going to take the fight. You know, we've done everything possible to get the fight to happen. Unfortunately, you know, with the last summer and everything with the infection, so I think he's pretty much out the window, and there's nobody else right now. Sturm's tied up over in Germany with a 10-fight deal. So right now, Sergio Martinez is the name at middleweight.
You touched on the fact that he's the best guy out there. Most champions take care of their mandatory defenses. Even some of the legendary middleweight champions that you know, like of Hagler, for years and years were taking care of their mandatories. And then Thomas Hearns stepped up, and then Duran stepped up. You took care of #1 WBO and #1 WBC. Talk about those fights and how that was important, and how it's important now that you...
Those were the mandatories. Yeah, you know, of course I took some heat for those fights, you know, as my mandatories. You know, but they were very good fights. You know, I did everything I was supposed to do in those fights too. You know, a lot of your top fighters and your champions fight these mandatories and these guys with the names that are not that big, and they go in there and they win a unanimous decision, but they're, you know, close fights, boring fights, a lot of law in the action. You know, I went in there and did what I was supposed to do with my mandatories. You know, I took them out. You know, I beat them up and took them out of the fight, and so, you know, with this Martinez, you know, it was the only other fight out there right now. You know, as we mentioned before, there's no big names, and he's the best fighter in the middleweight division. So, but as far as mandatory, I mean, yeah, we did everything we were supposed to do.
Now your sights are set on Martinez. That's what you're thinking about all day, every day when you come to training camp. What are you doing special, or is there anything different in this training camp?
A lot of the stuff's pretty much the same. You know, we brought in just a little different things, just maybe with the more agility classes and speed classes, but we're still doing the strength. You know, we're still doing Ironman Warehouse. We're still running the stadium at YSU. You know, we're still doing all the strength and cardio. You know, we're bringing in the good sparring partners that are southpaw, that are slick and fast. You know, top of the line sparring partners. So, and studying a lot of film. So, I mean, we're really just focusing on every aspect of the fight plan.
In the scope of things and the sport of boxing, what's your professional view of Sergio Martinez?
I think he's a good fighter. I think he's an awkward fighter. Hand speed is pretty good. I think that a lot of it's, I shouldn't say overrated, but I'm saying hyped up because of his awkwardness. You know, he throws a lot of punches from different angles and makes it look like it's lightning fast. And when all the reality is just the way he threw it. But dangerous fighter that way. But at the same time, he leaves himself wide open by being like that. You know, when he's wide open and he's hopping in with punches to counter, he leaves that chin in the air. And, you know, we've seen it with Margarito. We've seen it in the last fight with Williams. You know, he's got hit with a lot of punches. So just a lot of things, you know, you got to work on. But it's going to be one of the fights that you got to go in and be 100% ready.
Middleweight championship has a storied history. You know, it's probably only comparable to the heavyweights. Do you ever stop and think, wow, this is a historic title. This is a lot of special fighters had this.
I do. It is one of the, you know, biggest weight classes besides heavyweight, you know, in boxing. I mean, right now, of course, you know, your super middleweights are pretty powerful. You know, I think your junior welterweights or your welterweight division is loaded. But if you go over the consistency of it over the years, you know, the last 40 years, I mean, look at the middleweight division and the fighter that came out of it. And so it is a heck of a thing, you know, to be able to say that you're a middleweight champion of the world. And, you know, you'll have people out there, naysayers, but it is what it is. I mean, out of all the fighters in the world that fight at middleweight, you know, to be that champ, you know, and beat the guys that I did coming up and beat the fighter that I beat, you know, says a lot. So
there's other belts, but what makes your championship stand out? I mean, a lot of people, the boxing historians, say, well, that's the linear title. And, you know, those are belts that were part of that. You know, could you talk more about the middleweight championship you have and how Sturm's is there with the belt?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. You know, one of the things is, and you know, it was brought to me. You know, and it is true. You know, I won my 2 world titles by fighting the best in that division at the time. You know, Taylor came in and beat a guy who set records for the most defenses, and he beat him twice. And that was when Taylor beat Hopkins. I beat Taylor, you know, for the titles. I won my titles from the middleweight king, and as where Abraham and Sturm pretty much got their titles, you know, by vacancy.
When you were scrapping for your title shot, rather, you were fighting guys who, some of whom have never been knocked out, or if they've been beaten, they lost close decisions. Other guys had never been knocked out. You knock them out, or you beat them convincingly, and then later they lose.
Yeah.
And so people act as if that discredits the accomplishment.
No, it don't. You know, if you look at it, if you break them down, Abraham got his jaw broken over in Germany, broken in pieces, and got beat that fight by Edison Miranda. Beat up, destroyed. If that fight was in the United States, they wouldn't even let that fight go on, let alone give him the decision. You know what I mean? And I fight Abraham Miranda after that fight, you know, where he wasn't knocked out, he wasn't hurt in the fight, and I knock him out in the 6th round, 7th round. You know, knock him out. Then Abraham gets to fight back with him after, which I think a lot of people knew that fight took a lot out of Miranda. You know, people say, oh, well, these fighters weren't that good. Well, look at it. I mean, they were good when, you know, Miranda was all over the boxing website saying that he got robbed against Abraham and he broke his jaw, you know, and all of a sudden now he's not a good fighter. So, I mean, it is what it is, but at the end of the day, you know, I keep going.
Hey, Kelly, good luck on the 17th.
Thank you, babe. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, and happy birthday, Kelly.
It was fun. 30 seconds.